Warm welcome from my side to this session, and yeah, it's a very interesting session. As said, it's all about the automotive industry, and yeah, as all of you might know, it's one of the most important industries, at least in Germany. And we have an excellent panel and participants here, which I want warmly to welcome. First of all, Hanna, Managing Director at Bosch Mobility and Solutions, GmbH. Then we have Dr. Heiko Flender, Head of Integrated Solutions at Daimler Truck. Augustin Friedel, Senior Manager Software Defined Vehicle at MHP, a Bosch company. And last but not least, we have also Norbert Bonnaud, Head of Integration at Alliance Automotive, France. So, thank you. Okay, yeah, great to have you here. Very interesting. We have basically the whole supply chain here, more or less. And we would like to go through it a little bit. But first of all, Heiko, probably to kick it off. So what is connected value chain meaning from your perspective in the automotive industry today? And why do you think it is a high priority?
Connected value chain for me, it's all about making logistics happen. Logistics is about efficiency, in my opinion. And if we're talking about efficiency, it's no more just about, when it comes to trucks, delivering like the most efficient truck with the most efficient engine. But in order to ensure an efficient logistics, actually it's quite important that we are also integrated digitally in order to enable or allow our customer to perform well. So what does that mean? Our trucks are integrated in a whole ecosystem, and our main task is to give some data points, or a lot of data points, so that all my colleagues here can actually do their work, for example in after sales, or I don't know, in mobility services, in consulting, to actually make logistics even more efficient.
Thank you very much. Anyone would like to add something to that? Connected value chain?
I think what you mentioned, Heiko, is like the ecosystem here in trucking, but we see this approach also in like the overall mobility. Yeah, so it's if we talk about passenger cars, yeah, so the value chain is getting way more complex. That's something we can handle with like an end-to-end data availability, and then also like passenger cars are integrated in several ecosystems. Yeah, so in infotainment, with streaming in the vehicle, maybe now also in the future more like city or smart city approaches, etc. And for that, basically, we need or like this. Having there an end-to-end data chain would definitely help to increase the customer value and to basically get the job to be done right.
Absolutely.
Great. Do you want to add something?
Yes, Alliance Automotive, as a leader of distribution in vehicle and parts, we need to have a great connection between supplier and customers. And all this part of the connection need to have a strong integration, because we need to satisfy the clients, the customers. In the world, with the redundancy, war and events, we have a lot of change. The customer change, and he needs the piece, the parts now, very quickly. So, if the connection between the suppliers, the distributor, the retail, and the stakeholder is not strong, nothing happens. And we lost a lot of clients, customers.
Yeah, thank you very much, Norbert. I think that's very much the same what we have heard earlier from the session. And yeah, now we want to dive a little bit along the supply chain, and to start with Hanna. Yeah, at Bosch, I think you have so many different layers and also segments where you're active and where you have to also incorporate, with different suppliers, but also serve customers. So how are you working across the industry with digitization, and how do you work to work with different, probably kinds of data and formats and interoperability in that regard?
Very good question, Nico. Thank you. So first of all, adding maybe to your points, when we speak about automotive and mobility, and how we define the market and the level playing field is really to think about mobility instead of automotive. And why is that? Because mobility is larger. Mobility comprises the movement of people and goods. So it also comprises logistics, the supply chain. So asking the question about interoperability is actually, in our view, one of the main challenges and often underestimated. And what I would like to stress today is giving you, on the one hand side, the perspective from a large corporate, which Bosch is. So we span globally. We have 90 billion revenue and 400,000 employees, and you can imagine the complexity which we are handling every day in terms of data processing and in terms of working together with partners and suppliers. What I would, for today's session, like to set a focus on is my area of responsibility, which is mobility platforms. And in the context of interoperability, we have arrived at an era, age of platforms. So what does that mean? If you look at legacy systems, they were mostly about controlling inside of one organization. And in our view, this is no longer valid in today's value chain and ecosystem. So what we need to do is shift the mindset, think in platforms. And what does that enable? It enables us to create value with others. So instead of controlling everything inside, we need to build upon interoperability frameworks. We need to wrap middle layers, make integrations feasible and easy, like you said, Norbert. And that is the way, and it starts with a mind shift change.
Yep.
So our approach to interoperability is really and clearly thinking platform first.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds really amazing. And I think you are not only, as you just said, are you using it internally at Bosch, or if that would be even enough for such a large company, but you're also enabling others in the industry and to work also with partners together and apply that also. So how are you doing that today?
I will try to summarize that and give you an overview what we do. So to stress upon the age of platforms and make it more concrete in the business context, what we have found is that the small, medium-sized companies have become much more important. So, and when we think about the problem space which is out there, especially in logistics and supply chain, there are so many problems which haven't been solved, and so many digital inefficiencies and broken systems which are out there. So our approach has been slightly different, and it has been to work very consequently and consistently with partners. Instead of building everything by ourselves, we are looking at the ecosystem, we are trying to clearly understand the challenges out there, and then identify those partners, those vertical SaaS providers, for example, to work with, to enable them, and grow and scale together. So that has been our way of success. And to give one very concrete example is the partnership with Logistics Cloud and Lobster, where you have clearly solved a main pain point in the market, which is data integration. So if you look at 20 years ago, everybody was doing a one-to-one data integration, which is not scalable. So we have seen that as a value proposition, which is very compelling, and we are working together with you on making that an even larger success and enabling data integrations. The other aspect I wanted to stress today is about how do we help and enable our partners to grow and scale. And here, what we have done at Bosch is to build a digital tech stack. Because what we have found is that literally everybody out there needs a scaling IT infrastructure. For smaller and medium-sized businesses, access to that at the same cost level, at the same enterprise level is not always easy. So this is something we can provide so that ultimately our partners are scaling and building on top of our tech stack, and we are jointly scaling together. That's more or less what we are trying to achieve in the market.
Sounds fantastic. Last question, probably a short or probably, yeah.
Could I maybe add
go ahead.
something to what you said, Hanna, with like platform first? I think we should also take this already one step further to have it like customer and customer lifetime first, because that's like what we then see in the projects that we are working on, that they're often forgotten. Yeah, we come more from this technical perspective and platform perspective, etc. But I think there we could add more value and could be all more successful if we push it like towards the customer. And then there we realize, okay, customer first and customer lifetime first means we are on ecosystems. Yeah, so it's not like one single relation with like one OEM or like one mobility partner anymore. It's like the whole or the different life spheres. And then, okay, if you get there to the next step, we realize, okay, those ecosystems rely on platforms. And then we are exactly where you are, Hanna, with your approach. Yeah, so, but I would like to add that, okay, let's start from the customer and then take it from there to the platforms and then the solutions.
Great. Probably last short questions to that. We already discussed that a little bit outside. So how is cloud computing playing a role in that one? So please, if you
I will try to be short. So coming back to what I said earlier, for a large corporation as Bosch, of course, cloud computing has become a must-have. So we're operating across multiple business sectors, processing IoT data in millions every day. That has enabled us to build quite a strong competence here. That's one aspect I want to stress. In terms of our cloud strategy, in general at Bosch, we are cloud agnostic. So we work with all the large hyperscalers. In the logistics context, so in Bosch Mobility Platforms, where I'm responsible for, we took an explicit decision to partner with AWS and building the logistics operating system. So that has been an explicit decision, and we have now become the managed service provider for AWS in the small and medium-sized business for mobility and logistics. So in that case, we are partnering with one very consciously to scale and grow in one industry segment where we find that Bosch and AWS are really building on each other's strengths.
Great, that sounds good. We had the same choice. I think all other players are also have their, of course, benefits, but yeah, that we have in common. But now I would like to go to Augustin. So as MHP, you are really the enabler for the OEM industry and helping them, of course, to work across the whole life cycle of from defining an architecture, building products, production, and all that stuff. So how can you, from your perspective, help the OEMs here as a MHP?
A great question, and before I answer that, maybe then, because the audience might not know, is that we worked with the whole industry. Yeah, so it says MHP, a Porsche company, but there I think it's really important to know that we work with the whole industry in like trucking and automotive, with the suppliers, with then also like after sales and service, but also in manufacturing, retail, and so on. So that's and if you have challenges there or questions there, feel free to reach out to me, or also my colleague Dominic is here today. So you can also talk to him how we could help. And then the question is, or the answer to the questions that you raised, Nico. I mean, I think there are different challenges that need to be solved. Yeah. So first is what already Hanna mentioned with the mindset. Yeah. So shifting there the mindset from, okay, let's have a product defined decision or product based decision, product driven decision, to let's have it customer defined and customer driven. So I think this is like a huge step for most of the industry players that we see, and helping them, that's something that we do, and or helping to get there is something that we do. And then the other areas that are important on this whole journey from, okay, being data driven, it's linked then of course to technology. Yeah, so there then also, okay, one aspect that we cover there is to identify new technological solutions, like new data platforms, maybe new data sources as well, that could be then utilized to basically do this journey. And then the most critical part is how to link them basically the new to their technical depth. Yeah, so we all know that it's not like a green field in the different corporates that we work with, in the big ones, and then also in the small ones. There's already like a technology legacy which needs to be then then also included, and then basically to merge both worlds, so the shiny new world with like data platforms, and now we have also this topic of AI agents, AI interfaces and so on, with like the legacy databases, with the legacy infrastructure, etc. So this is then the technology part where we support, and I think that's a super important part of this transformation as well. And then the last one is linked to the organization, so basically the customer, technology, and organization, and this is the ones where we say, okay, that's the most critical one then also, because there you need probably new processes, new tools, new organizational teams, and so on to realize everything. But that's like the part of the journey no one wants to touch, because it's often the hardest. You need to basically reshape teams. Maybe someone is losing responsibility or needs to do something different. Maybe there are some new skills you need to build. Maybe there are some other colleagues where you need to think how to rescale. So this complexity of organization, and the most important part, the humans behind, that's then the second or the third part. So next to customer focus, technology, and then organizations, where we as MHP and then together with the customer try to shape the journey.
Great. Probably two more questions, or in one question. How do you deal with fragmented data and silos there when you are working with a customer, and what do you also see there is changing at the moment? Do you see some change, or is it developing? Because we were also talking about things like that since years. So do you see their progress, and how are you dealing with that? We have heard that also in the session before, that there's a lot of data still siloed, and that there are huge potentials, of course, to get value out of data, 50%, 30% more value. How are you dealing with that? What are you seeing, and what is changing at the moment in the market from your perspective?
So first, maybe what is changing, or do we see the progress? Yes. Is it fast enough? No.
Could never be fast enough.
Could never be fast enough. And now also I'm heavily involved in automotive projects, and was already mentioned today that the automotive industry is in a phase of uncertainty. So what we see then there is then also cutbacks on these projects. So where they had like the right mindset already, the right progress, but then there might have been like budget constraints or whatsoever. So let's take 2 gears back and slow it down, and then maybe postpone it to later phases. So I think this is basically some trend that we see in there across the whole automotive value chain. From after sales service, the dealers, then also like the manufacturers, and then like everything behind. Then to the second question was like fragmented data sources, and how do we deal with that? So I mean, our approach then there is, if we talk then about different use, or it often depends on the use case that the company would like to achieve and would like to realize. But normally we say then, let's work with some middleware. So where you basically then connect the data sources that are completely fragmented with like a middle layer, and basically on this middle layer build then the applications, either for certain ticketing tasks, or then now, if you talk about AI agents coming way more prominent. So this is our the approach that we follow then there, and there we do it with the customer. So that's also important, that we are then in the infrastructure the customer is on. So we are then there also agnostic if it's like something that Bosch has set up, or maybe something that comes from an AWS or a Unity in Germany, or like Schwarz Digits, etc. So we are completely agnostic there, and then also linking it to the tool chain, which could be then also a spread of different tools as well, depending on the use case and the requirements.
Great. Thank you so much. Now getting a step further in the supply chain, so to say. Of course, the aftermarket spare parts is a very, very important topic.
Yes.
And Norbert, how have you tackled the challenges to envisage a strategy there to connect all the different fragmented players? I think from your perspective, it might be even more fragmented, because you're working with so many different companies, also larger ones, smaller ones, different suppliers, and of course every customer just wants it right away and needs the parts. So what have you been done, and what have you envisaged to solve that from your perspective?
Few years ago, we have a lot of problem to connecting all the ecosystem in Alliance Automotive. We have a lot of ERP, a lot of data warehouse, and our customers need to have access to this data, to the article, the price, the stock. And it's very difficult to operate. Okay, you can connect to this ERP1, ERP2. It's very difficult. And 4 years ago, we searched middleware which is able to help us about it. And Lobster solve this type of construction and integration. In the first time, we use solution Lobster data to facilitate the communication between systems. It's very easy because you don't have to say, okay, I will connect my ecosystem A to the ecosystem B. No, Lobster does that. I just need to, what do you want? Okay, I send you the information. And it's very helpful. And in other parts, when we connect all our environment with a unique system, Lobster, we decided to create another environment with Lobster Pro to create a clear connection for the sales market and customers, a unique entry point to help them to have a faster access to the data, to the article, and to facilitate customers and orders. And the next step is to create our unique sales site, Parts 360, and gives the capability to the customers, partners, to connect to this application through their own ERP or own application with Lobster Pro. And with web service and other connectivity, it's very simple, easy, and it's helped very our company to improve our governance, to improve our efficiency and the customer satisfaction. And at this time, with the new solution of Lobster, which merge Lobster data and Lobster Pro, we think to have a better vision of the monitoring from the orders to the delivery of an article. And it will be very helpful.
Okay, very interesting. And what about the data quality? So how are you dealing with incomplete data, wrong information, even if you need updates in real time? So how you are dealing with that one?
Yes, the quality of data is very difficult to manage because with Lobster, we have a lot of connection. We can easily validate the data, and it's centralized. At this time, the big challenge is to see the connection, the data. Okay, my WMS, my ERP, my TMS. Is it okay to challenge all the communication and consolidate all the data? So with Lobster, it's easy to the mapping, to the connection, and with connection like web service, API, and other tools, we have improved our connection and improved our data reality.
Great, thank you so much.
Right.
Now to you, Heiko. I think Daimler Truck is a vehicle and connected vehicle leader in the market, so that could be said. So how you think about telematics services like Fleetboard, and how are you deciding what you do with data on the vehicle, and what are you doing in the cloud?
Now, first of all, a truck without telematics cannot operate anymore.
cannot run anymore.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think this is for sure. And also the question whether we process the data on the truck itself or we send it to the cloud, there's no more question anymore. I remember when I started, yes, we were processing everything on the truck. We were sending SMS text messages from the truck to whoever, and that's it. The question now is not whether we connect the truck to the cloud or where we process, but the question is how do we manage to connect all our trucks or the trucks of our customers actually to the cloud, and how do we guarantee that the data is always then up to date? I mean, it's real-time data, right? And it can be processed in the best manner. So that's the challenge of today, in my opinion. Yeah, no more way process, because there's no doubt anymore that it needs to be done in the cloud. For that reason, it is so crucial to have like an integrator that is actually putting all the data together. Yeah.
Cool. And can you give a concrete example where the data then from the trucks play a role in logistics planning processes already?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it depends. You have several layers of data, right? There's not the one telematics solution. There are several solutions. But think about just, for example, the tour or route planning. Yeah. So transport management systems, they actually use our data in order to know where the truck is located. So what are the next orders, where the customer. So this is happening with telematics data, right? So without that, there would be it would not work. A big use case of Fleetbot. Our Fleetbot is, for example, like the if you have a cross-border traffic, then you need to know when the driver was actually crossing the border. So this can be done with telematics, right? So it makes life so much easier in so many ways.
Yeah, really, really interesting. So, yeah, getting back to you, Hanna. So
maybe just,
just
adding to what you said, I think there's one important aspect when we talk about data, which is the total cost of ownership. And we really hear that from our customers, and echoing what Augustin also said, thinking a customer first. So with the recent challenges which we also have in our industries, and a harsh pressure on margins, especially in transportation, I think one of the challenges we need to solve is to manage data at a cost-efficient space. And then combining that with real-time data streaming. So how can we optimize our IT infrastructure at that point so that data streaming becomes really on time, but in the most cost-efficient way? And I think there we have quite some potential to tap into, dealing with these large amounts of data in the best and most efficient manner.
But the good thing is that customers, they require the solution, right? And normally they're willing to pay for a proper solution. There are some customers who are not, but it's fair. So at least we do offer some basic services, but what comes for free. But if you're talking about like the advanced analytics, right? Normally customers, they do have to pay for it. They're willing to pay for it. So I think it's going hand in hand, because you can offer more advanced services, but yeah, it has a price tag. Yeah.
But they're probably also then like the value you create is quite clear. Yeah. So they're then okay. They see I invest a certain amount, either like in a subscription or license fee or whatever, and they get something back because their fleet is more efficient, or they save fuel or whatsoever. Yeah. So they're this case of using data, showing okay, what is then like what you could achieve with this data, and see that there's a positive return on invest. I mean, then I think that's what we see then also in trucking, but also in mobility and automotive. Then there's also the willingness to pay.
Absolutely.
So probably a short last question for all of you again, but starting with Hanna. So now looking into the future, so how would that work together, and breaking down the barriers between all the different perspectives? And we have only 4, but still covered some in the supply chain, and we see a lot of course, potential here, but how we will do that in the future and how it will look like.
Well, let me start by saying I think we still have a long way to go. Looking at, we talked about this earlier, looking at the large corporations, which we are all working in, we have a tendency to be slow. On the other hand, echoing what has been said in the morning, we don't have all the time. So there is a sense of urgency to rethink the way we do business. That's why I would like to close with that sense of urgency. We need to change the way we operate, and we need to think platform ecosystem first and in-house control second. So building on solutions like Lobster is really, to me, the future, and then really partnering in an ecosystem.
Okay. Of course, we want also to give the audience the possibility to ask some questions, and please feel free. We have runners here with a mic. If you have a question, just raise a hand. You have now the chance. Of course, the good thing is they are also here with us at the event, so you can also just reach out to them and learn from the experts right away in the next break. But please feel free to also ask questions and get involved here in the discussion. In the meantime, anything to add to that, Heiko, from your side?
maybe one thing, because we are talking about ecosystem and platforms, right? For me, it's important that currently, unfortunately, there's not one ecosystem, there's not one platform, but we're having like, I mean, everybody or every company is having its own ecosystem, right? It's designing its own, more or less. And I think we have to overcome this. We have to make something happen where we all use the same set of data, where we actually can collaborate, and we have one platform to work on. It's a vision, I know, but yeah.
Maybe I want to stress the organizational part and how to work again. Yeah, so I think this is in this call for urgency, what you mentioned, Hanna, the most critical part. Yeah, so we all hope, okay, that there will be a top-down management. Someone is saying, okay, we now get like in this new of working, but it's not happening. Yeah, so finding the real or like models that work to do this organizational shift. This is something where we need to basically speed up, and there also shift is what we often see. Let's say 80% on planning and 20% on execution, to do it the way around. Yeah, so just do 20% planning and then 80% execution, because there you have then the learnings and then you can progress. Otherwise, you will never move forward.
Please.
Thoralf, moin aus Hamburg. Ich habe eine Frage an die ganze Runde. Erstmal vielen Dank für die sehr, sehr integrierte Runde, die da vorne sitzt. Meine Frage wäre, wie schafft ihr es? Also es gibt halt tolle Trucks, es gibt Schmitz Cargo Bull, die auch noch irgendwas in ihren Trailer einbauen. Dann gibt es super Steuergeräte von Bosch und auch noch andere. Wie schafft ihr es, die Daten, die ihr generiert, nicht in wiederum eigenen, sage ich mal, proprietären Systemen zu lassen? Weil großer, was weiß ich, ein großer, heute auch hier schon genannter Lebensmitteleinzelhändler verbringt auch die Ware in unterschiedlichen Trucks von unterschiedlichen Herstellern. Also wie schafft ihr es, die Daten über Systeme auszutauschen, nicht nur technologisch mit Lobster, sondern auch, sage ich mal, datenkonform und auch compliance-konform und vor allen Dingen auch, sage ich mal, sharing is caring konform.
Sharing is caring. Die würde ich an Hanna mal starten, die Richtung, weil Hanna ist da ja sehr aktiv.
Ich kann es versuchen. Also die eine Antwort, die wir darauf haben, ist, dass wir natürlich in den entsprechenden Interoperability-Frameworks, nennen sie sich so schön, unterwegs sind. Also Catena X als eine große Initiative, wo es genau darum geht, im Automotive-Kontext die Daten zwischen Suppliern, zwischen OEMs auch standardisiert und sicher auszutauschen. Also ich glaube, das ist ein Teil der Antwort, und auch zu dem Punkt von dir, Heiko, wo wir über große hinweg versuchen, stärker an Standards zu kommen und besser zusammenzuarbeiten, damit nicht jeder in seinem proprietären Datensilo endet.
Super, vielen herzlichen Dank. Ich glaube, wir könnten hier noch mindestens eine Stunde weitermachen. Super spannend. Vielen herzlichen Dank für euren tollen Beitrag. Nochmal, natürlich habt ihr die Chance, auch noch mit den Experten weiter hier ins Gespräch zu kommen und nutzt die Gelegenheit auch, sie anzusprechen. Und genau, ich würde dann gerne die Session beenden. Oh, we switched to German because the question just mentioned that. Of course, usually we were in English. So we're wrapping up. Thank you very much for joining, for the insights in the automotive industry. I think we have just an exciting panel, and now we are closing that up and heading over to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.